see what you've been up to.
Yeah.
Right, so going live now.
Good, cool.
So we should be live. Let me pop a little thing in there in the chat to make sure we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, great. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I was
haven't really seen anyone in a while now.
Since all this COVID stuff kicked off, you've not been. I haven't seen you because obviously we usually bump into each other at conferences and the like, don't we?
Yeah. True.
In the wee hours between bars.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm missing it, man. I'm looking forward to get together again.
Yeah.
Seeing people.
Yeah.
But,
well, your project. So for those who don't know, 21isenough on Twitter. He has a Lightning-ATM project, which is great. It's really encourages users to take control of their own hardware, their own Bitcoin hardware, and develop and build their own DIY Lightning ATM machine. And I've seen some brilliant results. Some people have modded it and put note acceptors because I'll let you introduce your project. That probably makes sense. Have you got any do you want to introduce the project rather than me?
Sure, yeah.
I'll pass it to try and do
it. Of course, yeah. Yeah, so the Lightning-ATM is a project that I came up with during breaking Bitcoin in Amsterdam. It's the first time that I really thought about it. Had this idea, so Lightning at the time was talked about often. We sort of thought about ideas, how could it be demonstrated, how could it be made a bit more tangible, because Bitcoin itself is rather difficult to understand, and then Lightning on top. If you don't have an understanding how it works on its base layer, then it's even more difficult to understand the second layer. And I wouldn't claim to my ATM to really make you understand it from a technical point of view, but it gives you a lovely introduction. It's a project that helps you understand, or help you experience rather, Lightning, Bitcoin in particular, because it's super easy to onboard new people. You have a small little machine that you can either put on a table, on top of a table, or bring it with you. And I have an edition that I call the Pocket Edition that you can bring with you into any bar or any meetup. And it accepts coins. That's the first version that I built. So there is this coin acceptor, a cheap hardware component from China for like $10-12. You can order that on Amazon and build your own little ATM that you can bring places, put in some coins. It accepts any coin you want it to accept. You basically teach it what the coin looks like. And then you give Satoshis to those who use your ATM, sell them a little bit of Bitcoin for 10 cents, 20 cents, 50, 2 or 3 euros or pounds. I've been with it all over Europe, at different conferences, and demonstrated it. I set it up with a variety of different currencies. So it's super easy for people to experience it firsthand. They might not understand what is going on. They don't know about all the technicalities in the background, about Lightning, about Bitcoin on-chain, Lightning channels, how that all works. But they download a mobile wallet onto their phones, say Phoenix or Blue Wallet of Satoshi, and they can receive some Satoshis literally within seconds almost. And it's, I think, rather powerful, a powerful demonstration for those who do not know what Bitcoin is and how it works, to see how their fiat money turns into Satoshis literally in front of their eyes. And I had great experiences. Yeah, people liked it. I turned it into a little open source project that has a documentation website as well. And people started building it now as well. So there is a little community. I'm in touch almost every day with people who are continuously working on it. We're building their own. Someone joined in and made there's like little, as you said, little adjustments. Someone built a bill acceptor into it. Others use different designs, 3D print their own cases, or build completely own cases. Things like some people put it in cardboard boxes. Other have their own little compartments that they put the whole hardware components in. And the one that you're just showing right now, that's the laser cut design that I designed myself. That's a MDF design that you can laser print in your local laser printer.
Yeah, it's lovely. Shop. It's really lovely. I love the curves here, which you managed to achieve. It's very complicated. Bit of laser cutting right there.
Yeah, it's something you suggested, right? When was that?
There was years ago.
In Riga, I guess.
I worked as a sort of resistant materials teacher, and we had a laser cutter, and I was in love with it. You could, I mean, as you know, because you've used it with this thing, you can just fabricate something so quickly on it. Like, 3D printing is great and everything, but if you've got to make a whole bunch of these things using a 3D printer, it's going to take you forever. Whereas on a laser cutter, you can build these so quickly. Can you buy the kits? Like could I buy? Is it possible to buy like a case kit from anywhere?
Yes, there is this particular version that you're showing here right now, the bigger version that is available at Fulmo. They do have it in their shop. So if you just want to buy in their Fulmo shop, you can order it. And I think they're planning to add the Pocket Edition as well, and eventually even because for now it's just a case, and eventually I think they will add the hardware components as well. Oh, the little one is here too, the case only.
Brilliant.
Great.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then obviously you use
eventually the hardware components will be part of a package here too. So if you don't want to go around and buy your components from all the different places, then you can also order that from Fulmo eventually. Exactly.
Yeah, really good. No, it's a great project, and I saw. Is it Conta? He printed. Did he print? Was that for the micro ATM, the smaller ATM?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe I can show you something on my screen here as well. Let me check. I've got a page open. Maybe for people who are. Maybe look like. There we go. Do you see my screen?
Yep, can see it. Oh, nice. That's the docs.
Cool.
Good docs.
Yeah, that's the documentation website. So at docs.lightningatm.me, you'll find a complete guide that basically guides you step by step through the whole setup process.
There's the first gen cardboard box one.
Yeah, up here that's the first generation. Exactly. Yeah. The very first version. I had a second version that was just a cube basically, until I found out about this possibility to bend MDF if you engrave it in that manner. So that's the third and current version.
What I love about this Lightning ATM is that it's something which the parts aren't expensive. It's DIY. Obviously, people are able to build it themselves, so they're able to kind of have sort of full control over the hardware. But ultimately, if you had this in a bar or cafe in a country where they may frown upon you having an ATM, you could, the police could come in and say, that you can't have this, it's illegal, and you could just say, oh, I don't know who that is, it's someone left it there at the end of the bar. Like you don't even have to claim ownership over it. They could take it away and confiscate it, and it's like, okay, so I lost. I mean, so what's the cost of this? Like $100 maybe max?
$100. Yeah, all in all, I think you can do it for less than $100, including the case, depending on where you order it from. There are some, like if you're a little impatient and you want to get all the components next week, you got to order on Amazon. That will cost you a bit more than if you were to order from AliExpress or some Chinese place. That might take a couple of weeks. But overall, you can get it for less than $100.
I wanted to experiment with like a coin. Have you seen those coin sorters where you just chuck a handful of coins?
Oh, right. Yes, they're great too. Yeah. They are a bit more expensive too, I think.
Yeah.
A coin acceptor, the one that I'm using here. Can you see one now? I do have another thing here. But the 3D model's open too. So
beautiful.
This hardware component here is the coin acceptor. 616 I think is my model, the version that I'm using, and you can literally get it for $10-12. The coin sorters, I think I don't know, probably
they're like 100. They're for a decent one. They're like $100 or something. Yeah, the other ones they tend to clog and they're a bit useless. But I thought that would be a great thing. Has anyone done that yet with your ATM? Have they attached one of these coin mixers?
No, not yet. So far, only bill acceptors have been attached, but no other hardware now.
Where was that? Because that was in a country where they have like fairly small bills, wasn't it? So it kind of made sense with the bill acceptors.
The first dude who came up with it was actually Swiss. So he used it with the Swiss bills, yeah.
Well, that's not small bill.
Yeah, those aren't small. Yeah, no, not at all. But then right now there is actually one ATM on 24/7 almost, or at least
Wow.
during their opening hours. There is a travel agency in Vietnam.
That's it. That's
And
the one I saw, I think.
they use it with the bill acceptor too, and they have rather small denomination bills. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So to talk people through the process of chucking the coins in, they chuck the coins in, and then it creates an LN URL, which is does it create an LN? Well, it's actually, in fact, you've got a camera on yours as well, haven't you? So
I do, exactly. I do have a camera. So either you can use the camera with the big version, say like the tabletop version. There is, maybe I'll show it on the 3D model here. You can see the camera here at the back. That's where the Raspberry camera is mounted. So I have this little tube that reaches into the box, which is mainly so that the camera is at the right distance to the QR code. So the user of the ATM puts their phone here in front of that screen, right? Or that plexi, or that, what you call that translucent or transparent window here, and then shows their QR code to the camera, which is at a 15 centimeter distance. And that is just about exactly right for most of the Lightning wallets that I tested it with. So that is one option, how to receive or how to pay a Lightning invoice. And then there is this other option with LNURL, where I display a QR code here on the e-ink screen, and the user just scans to receive. And that is obviously only possible on the Pocket Edition. That's the Pocket Edition, the version that is just about as big as the coin acceptor itself, right? There's two components missing on that one. So there is no camera, and there is also no button. Here we have a button as well in that hole where you can start the payout process and do some other user interaction. And here we don't have a button either. So we just after a certain amount of time, 15, 20 seconds after the last coin has been inserted, the payout process will be started, and then an LN URL will be displayed here on that e-ink screen. Exactly.
Yeah, lovely. I'm always because you use the Raspberry Pi Zero, and I'm always shilling my SP32 microcontrollers. To try and use one. But the new M5 stack range, they have a very nice e-paper thing where it's all kind of built in together. Yeah, and it's I'm not sure if it's the SP32, but the microcontroller, you can use MicroPython with it. All right. So it might make just for like a really easy build, because it's just it'd literally be a fairly well put together developer thing kit, and then a couple of wires just going to your coin acceptor. So.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I do like those ESPs as well. I love they're so lean, they're so quick, they're cheap. Like those are the lovely things.
That's when we first met, wasn't it? We were in San Francisco, and I think I mentioned the SP32s, and your eyes lit up, and you were like, a hardware dork.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. I do have like a couple of there is a couple of downsides too, I think, but I mean it really depends what you want to use it for. Again, like one thing, for example, now that I help people setting up their own ATMs, I have had it that they've been the ones in Vietnam. I had people in France, Italy, all over Europe, and different places in the US where they were struggling, where they wouldn't know, because I have beginners as well who do this project. They go onto this documentation website and they start building, and eventually they're stuck. So I can then connect to their Raspberry Pi, since they have really a full-fledged Linux. We open a remote session, I log into via SSH, and they can follow along on my screen. We open some terminal session, and I can help them out through direct debug the thing, help them out, and that is very, very lovely. I like that a lot.
I think with the M5 stack thing, I think I'll have to look into it more. It's a new range, but I think this one of these they're built primarily for they're sort of focusing on the education market, and I'm pretty sure you can just like drop a binary file, like you plug it in, it makes a folder on your computer, and you can just drop a binary file onto it. I mean, you still have people get confused how to do it, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward. So it might be worth looking at. Oh, that's the other cool thing about it, is it's actually a touch paper e-paper. which is
really? Wow.
which is pretty fascinating. I don't know how they
Nice,
do that,
yeah.
and also how they, because as you know with e-paper, it's not this. It's pretty easy to crack, isn't it? I bet you've been through a few screens.
True. Yeah, indeed. I cracked a couple. Definitely.
It's heartbreaking
Yeah,
as
that
well,
is
isn't
true.
it?
Yeah.
How do you get the screen so flat? The e-paper screen. So does it come not glued to the board? Because
Yeah, there is different versions. So the one that you can see here on that one, that is that's called Papyrus, and they do not come glued onto their board. So there, it's fairly simple. The one that I'm using with the is there a picture here too? I guess that's the one here.
Wow, that's nice. This is excellent.
With the that is a WaveShare. So WaveShare are a lot easier. The ATM build or the software is compatible with both libraries and both e-ink screens, and the WaveShare, they're a lot cheaper. So most people go for WaveShare, and most of the WaveShare, I think you can buy them bare bone, but most of them are glued to a board. But if you're careful and you've got a very thin piece of plastic or something sharp, you can slide it in between, and you got to be careful.
That's how I've broken my screens, trying to disconnect them from their boards. I'm always amazed that package it with a little bit of double-sided tape or something. So if people do want to stick it to the board, then they can. But it'd be so much more useful if when you ordered them, if they just weren't by default as a protocol, they just weren't stuck.
That is true. That is very true. Yeah, that's right.
So what's next for the project?
What is next for the project? So there is a couple of things at the moment. At least the last couple of weeks, even months by now, I haven't had that much time to keep producing new features or to enhance the software. I was mainly busy with helping people. There is requests, almost on a daily basis from people who want to know how to do certain things or need some debugging. But there is a couple of things definitely that I want to work on, and they mainly concern the documentation website. So I need to maybe as a quick, so as we've talked before, this is the tabletop version, right? Mm. We have the pocket version that is a lot smaller, and you can bring it with you into a bar. And this pocket version and the desktop version use the exact same GitHub repository with a few changes in a configuration file. Mm-hmm. But the Pocket Edition, I designed and built that later, so that is not yet part of the documentation website. So if you go through the hardware requirements here, those are all for the tabletop version. Software requirements, those would be the same. People go through the hardware setups later on with about 1.5 hours of YouTube videos here, hardware overview, Raspberry Pi, display.
I didn't know that was well done.
Yeah, I put quite a bit of time in here. I
think when I saw you advancing Bitcoin, you were talking about doing some tutorials for it.
Yes, exactly.
Well done.
Yeah, so mainly building it in a way that it is compatible for both versions. So I want to support or help people with either versions. There is actually, I have a tab open here too, Fulmo. Christoph from Fulmo, he put a little guide on the Fulmo blog as well, where when he built his first Pocket Edition, he made a little tutorial how to go about it, including how to set up the hardware. So that helps people for now. That's where people refer to. But I want to offer that content eventually all in my own documentation website as well, so that people have one place where they find all the information.
I think when I spoke to you as well at some point, I can't quite remember what it was, but it was like an LNURL server almost. It was like something to serve the LNURLs. What was that? Because I remember being really excited about it.
Exactly, yeah, and that actually works by now too. So that is one other thing, software related, that I need to basically merge. So right now I do have a branch that's called payment optimization, and in here there is a bit of code that needs to be merged, which actually then works with this, what I called at the time, or still LN URL proxy API. And the way that works, I can also show you the, where do we have that here in that example config? So maybe I'll quickly explain first how that works. So it's called LN URL proxy API.
Yes.
And the main problem that we often have, especially with the Pocket Edition, is that it works with, say, the LNTX bot, right? If you are the operator of an ATM like this, you have at this very moment, you have two options for wallets to use it with. So either you use the LNTX bot, the Telegram bot, Lightning wallet from Fiat Chaff, or you use your own LND full node. So those two backend wallets are supported. With the LNTX bot, is all natively supported, say, to use LN URLs, right? Because here we don't have a camera. We cannot scan the user's invoice and pay it. We need another way to transmit that invoice. And here we do it over that LN URL specification. So over an HTTPS GET request, really. And with your LND node, LND Lightning full node, that is just not possible, right? That's not natively supported. I probably never will. And that is what I built this little extension that I call LN URL proxy API for. And that's currently operating at here, like api.lnurlproxy.me version 1. And here you can basically facilitate an invoice exchange over this API, right? It's a service that I provide. So either you use my server, or you can obviously set it up yourself. This is a Flask tool here, a Python Flask tool. You can also run it on your own server. But what it basically does is the ATM, I clicked on that picture. The requester here, we have number one, right? We have a request. So the ATM would be that entity here, requests an LN URL from the proxy API, gets that LN URL back, and displays it then to the user of the ATM that's supposed to receive a certain amount of Satoshis. The end user then scans that invoice, and what happens when they scan a QR code with a LN URL, their wallet will submit the Lightning invoice to that LN URL proxy API, basically over HTTPS as well. And this that server then, after it's received the invoice, forwards the Lightning invoice on another endpoint back to the ATM, right? And then I can pay the invoice, the ATM can pay out the invoice. And therefore we don't need to have a port opened or operate. It just makes it much easier for any Lightning implementation really to use this LN URL or this LN URL withdrawal function from the LN URL specs. And yeah, at the moment it's operational on this API, and I built that into the ATM now as well. It has some privacy implications, of course, because if you're using this, you can obviously change the URL if you run your own proxy API. But if you're using mine, this is my public service that is accessible to anybody, then you are transmitting Lightning invoices over my server.
You see, but what in fact, I mean, to counter that, I mean, if you run this service yourself, then your invoice macaroon isn't on your ATM, which somebody could get hold of and then use to read information about your node. So in a way, so you've got those endpoints on your LN URL server thing, which are specific for the ATM. They're not, they can't just access like the whole of and he's REST, for all the read and invoice functionality.
Yes.
So that's nice. It's a little bit more secure.
It is, yeah, that is true, yeah. It is by default set to inactive, so if you want to use this feature, you will have to come here and make it or activate it, and then you can even use your LND node to pay out or to pay over LN URL withdrawal.
What about have you got like an access point functionality for GUI, so you can, when you first fire up your LN-ATM, for setting all the configuration, can you do that through a GUI, or do you do that through the actual code itself?
Yeah, at the moment, well, so you can.
Or you SSH, do you? How does it work?
Yeah, so there's two options really. First of all, there's not really a GUI. I think I've got it somewhere on my to-dos down here. Yeah, like dashboard for settings via mobile. So that is something that's planned. So it would be nice, as you say, like have the Raspberry Pi in AP mode and connect to it. Have a dashboard where you can do some settings. What is another lovely thing about having a camera is you can also you don't need, like, you can transmit other data than in Lightning invoices,
of course,
right?
You can put it all in the QR code. Yeah, nice.
Exactly. So that's what you can do. Like, for example, on the LNTX bot on the Telegram wallet, if you use the command -Lightning-ATM, via Jeff built that into it, you go / Lightning-ATM, and then it will output a QR code into your Telegram
beautiful
chat that you can show. So you put your ATM into that configuration mode, and when you show it the QR code, it will automatically configure everything. It will pre-fill the config file, put the API credentials into the right places, and then it can operate literally also within seconds with your Telegram wallet. That's quite nice.
That's really lovely. Yeah.
That is not possible on the Pocket Edition since no camera. So here you would have to SSH in and put your wallet credentials into that configuration file exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, no. Do you know the library Little VGL? Little VGL.
No, doesn't ring a bell.
No, that's so that's like a really nice GUI library, which is, I mean, I use it for I've used it for the microcontroller stuff, but it's also it's cross compatible. So they have a Python version of the library, which it makes it really easy to like set up a GUI. So say if you did have an access point, you could very easily set up a very nice looking GUI. Someone could connect to and get. I know that Spectre uses Little VGL a lot, I think, in their stuff. So I'm pretty sure that would work. But no, there's I can't wait. I mean, in saying that though, I mean the LNTX bot QR code solution is in fact the easiest, isn't it? I mean, that's even better than having to put in. Yeah,
that is very easy, and it also works with BTC Pay servers. So if you run your own BTC Pay server and use an LND node in its backend, then you can also use the the BTC Pay connection config file. So they have a QR code to connect with your mobile wallets, and I use the same QR code to configure the ATM as well. So that
damn it, we need we've said this for a while, but we need an LN-bits extension or something in LN-bits for the same thing.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And now that you talk about LN-bits, I've joined the session before when you talked about LN-bits, and the topic of the Conduit came back up, right?
Yeah,
which is something. Are you still working on it, Conduit?
Conduct. I mean, I never start. All I did was name it. Like they were, like we talked about abstracting out of it. And in fact, I actually think I was against it originally because I thought it might make LN-bits redundant. Right. So I was like, no, don't do that. Don't take out that the funding source functionality and abstract it out. But actually, it just makes sense to abstract it out. And the only thing I came up with was the name. I was like, you want to call it Conduct, and that's a good name. But I think that's about as far as we got when we named a repo after it. Actually, I was saying that I think Aniko, who hasn't been as involved with LN-bits as he was. I think he's pretty busy just in his normal career life. He was planning, I'm pretty sure, this year to really have a good crack at Conduct because the world needs it, doesn't it?
Right. Definitely, I agree. Maybe I don't know how many people know about it, but I mean, the problem that I have is, in a way, right now, as said, the LNTX spot and the LND wallets are the only ones that are supported with the ATM, and I would love to have a solution that makes it compatible with every wallet.
Yeah.
And there is just not really any library, at least that I'm aware of, in Python.
I mean, you could use LMBits, but it'd be overkill because you'd be installing a whole LMBits instance on a Raspberry Pi Zero. Really, you just want that Python library, that Conduit Python library. You put on your machine, and then you've just got some endpoints for give me an invoice. Has it been paid?
Yes, yeah, that would be great. Like, yeah, let people use whatever they want as a backend, and have my ATM just know what backend you want to use, and then have a conduct in between that handles the rest of it. That would be lovely.
Let's push.
That's something on the yeah. Let's do that.
I'll mention it to you. Maybe the next Hacksprint we should put up there as a whole challenge to get Conduit built. I mean, it would be pretty easy, to be honest, because you're just taking the config files which are written in Python from LMBits, and you're just making them, just building them out. So adding all the endpoints which LND has, and all the endpoints which I think this is probably where it became complicated. It's like, who decides what endpoints get added? Because you probably don't want the whole of the REST API on there, the LND REST API, because it might get a bit bulky if you do that for LND and for C Lightning. When saying that, the C Lightning REST API is in fact the same as the LND one, isn't it? Because I think it's just a plugin which someone built. I think the Ride the Lightning guys did that. They built it. So I think it's pretty similar to the LND one. But anyway, so you could just take out the wallet connectors in LMBits, and then just expand them out a little bit. But you're right. Okay, I'll mention it. I'll mention it again. I'll bring it up again. People want Conduit.
Yeah, that'll be something interesting. I think that would be. Yeah, that'd be lovely. I think if something like that was available, I would definitely take care and build it into the software. That'd be cool. There is in general. I don't know about your LNBits, but I've got a lot of refactoring to do. Definitely, I've gotten to a point where I have a lot of features, and a lot of stuff is sort of, like, I don't want to say haphazardly, but definitely not in a proper way implemented. So I have some things that I would need to put somewhere else, create some modules that do things, designate some time into
it's boring,
cleaning up the code.
I mean, some people love it, and some people love refactoring, but for me, I find it incredible. But in fact, no, a lot of work went into LMBits after we got it to kind of MVP. So it is now. It's all nice and clean and looks lovely, in the code, and it's very organized. Cool. Some of the extensions written by people like me probably could do with a bit of tidying up, and we don't use pretty JS or whatever it's called as much as we probably should. But what have you got anything else? So are you going to focus this year on the ATM and building that out? Or have you got any other interesting hacks you can reveal?
I've got some interesting. Not hacks. I'm working with a couple of Bitcoiners on something here in, it will be incorporated in Switzerland. It's a bit more of a corporate project that we are working on. Cannot reveal all that much at this point, but pretty soon, I hope. Currently, there is regulators involved. Talking to a lot of banks at the moment too.
Yeah, Switzerland's a place to be.
Yeah, indeed.
Very Bitcoin friendly.
I hope that early next year we can talk a bit more about what we're trying to build and trying to achieve. But that's definitely something that's taken most of my time in recent weeks.
Oh,
but
cool.
Still, no, like what I maybe I wanted, or I can show you that real quick too. I like that very much, and I wanted to give a quick shout out as well to I don't even know the username anymore, but I wanted to show a quick picture of the 3D printed version, because that has
Conta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
We got these Pocket Edition, so under the resources, 3D models, and then Lightning-ATM Pocket Edition. Those are, I don't know much about 3D printing, but apparently you need those
That's all you
STLS
need.
files.
Yeah, just one of them. Plug it in. Boom.
Yes.
Look at that. I think I started printing one of these actually.
Did you?
Yeah, he DM'd me and said, "Look what I made," and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to print one of them."
Oh, nice, cool. Yeah, so that is really great. I love this. It gives a lot of people, because those laser cutters. Yeah, I think in every other city, or at least in bigger cities, you definitely have a shop, but probably laser printers are even more ubiquitous. And this is a lovely.
They are, but I mean, if you were, you would have to have. I mean, I don't know how long it says that takes to print, but it will be a while for fabricating. It does look lovely.
Yes.
Yes. And for a small case like this, it works very nicely indeed. But you are making that trade off with time. It's a lovely Bitcoin orange, orange PLA.
Yeah. It looks great. I do like it. I don't have a printer myself, but eventually I'm gonna print one somewhere. And it's just, it's cool. I've had there is a decent amount of people who are working with this build now too, and it's I like that very much. He put a lot of effort into this, and it's great.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, he's I mean, I don't want to dox him too much, but yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Right. Well, that was great, man. I'm glad you haven't just disappeared off the face of the earth and you're not doing anything productive, because I like your stuff.
On the contrary.
So I look forward to what you're building. It sounds super exciting.
Good, yeah. I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah, cool.
Let you know when we're ready. And I want to put a bit more, probably over the next couple of weeks. I need to take some time and do some ATM related things again.
Yeah.
Definitely on my task list.
Cool. And if anyone out there wants to have a crack at making one of these ATMs and they haven't got access to a laser cutter or a 3D printer, then the Fulmo shop.
The Fulmo shop is where it's at. Exactly.
Yeah. In the chat, someone said plastic ATM. It's not the best idea. And obviously, this isn't the sort of ATM you would drill to a wall and leave, outside where anyone can just grab it and nick your Raspberry Pi. This is the ATM which you put at the end of the bar or the cafe, or these little ones you take to a meetup, or and there's noobs at the meetup and they're like, well, what's cool? Why is Bitcoin interesting? You say, okay, well, plug some coins into here and then boom, here's some Bitcoin on Lightning. It's a great experience being able to pull Bitcoin. Particularly, I really like it through the LN URL. Just by using some of your loose change in your pocket, and it's always popular at conferences. And again, I mean, as an educational tool, I think both of us are very keen on people taking control over their hardware. And if you've built something like this ATM, it could be the beginning of a journey where you build all sorts of little gizmos around your house to do interesting things. So it's a nice on ramp. And if you're not a developer, then there's something about hardware. You can spend months learning Python and HTML or JavaScript, and you build a little web app thing, and it's like, it's whatever, it's a few buttons. But if you build something physical in the physical material world, and then you can tweak some of the settings and you can change the code and get it to do something else, or change the font maybe of it. That's a very satisfying thing for a lot of people, and it kind of gives them that coding bug. So yes, definitely not a good idea for leaving out there on in some public area, but great for a whole bunch of other reasons.
Indeed. What about yours, by the way? Have you been working on your version?
Not really. I mean, it works, but it works, and it was working well. But I get distracted, and LNbits is taking a lot of time at the moment, I did find a nice box for it though. Oh yeah, here we are. So I was quite keen on being able to buy a box. So these aluminium I think it's like a oh here we are, yeah, it's like a medical box thing. You can get those for like 20 quid or something on Amazon, and it's really easy to kind of cut into it with you can actually cut into it with a Stanley knife. I also went for this coin acceptor because I had a little bit more luck.
More sturdy, huh?
Well, it's the pulse thing. See, I think the Raspberry 0 doesn't seem to have many, like, you don't seem to have so many problems with because it sends pulses, doesn't it, for coins? Whereas that one will just send an integer. So you put like a 20 and it just sends 20, you know. And that's kind of simpler and a little bit nice. But the coin acceptor is a little bit more expensive. I think it's like 2 or 3 times the price. Again, you know, I need to have a go at fiddling around and trying to get that thing to be a bit more simpler. Maybe, I mean, I'm admiring your documentation, and you know, my documentation is embarrassing. So yeah, maybe I will take some time out at some point to do that. But I mean, I really like your ATM. So it's what I would like to do actually is use one of those integrated setups where you've got the screen is like built into a microcontroller or built into something, so there's less wires. Although in saying that, you use a lot of jump leads. There's no soldering in yours, is there?
No, not really. And not really. You can do it without soldering. Yeah, there is some areas where it might be better to solder a bit. Yeah, but you can totally do it without. Yeah, just screws.
That's
luster connectors. Yeah.
What's that? What's a luster connector? Is that like a pin
like
thing?
These type of connectors where you have 2 ends and 2 screws, and you just connect 2 cables with each other through screws that screw from the top.
Oh, those things. Yeah, those things are great. Yeah. In fact, I nicked that idea from you because I saw that on your one. I thought, perfect. Yeah. I've used those like in real life so many times, and you know, for electrics around the home or whatever. But for some reason, it didn't cross my mind to use it in the ATM. It's the solution, because then you don't need to solder. Now, great. It's great talking to you, man. I'm glad we caught up.
It's been a pleasure. Definitely. I hope that, like, I've seen a tweet of Jameson Lopp today where he pointed out that ATMs, there's like twice as many ATMs now than by the beginning of the year. So it almost doubled, like on a global scale, I think.
Well, I mean,
throughout 2020.
Martin, who we have on the Bitcoin group, he's got an ATM company. And he sells, like, I can't remember. I can't remember. Bloody hell, he's going to kill me. I can't remember the name of the ATM company. Sorry, but they've. I mean, he won't mind me not saying it because he said it on the Bitcoin group. You know, the amount of ATMs they've sold is like almost doubled. You know, so he's sold X thousands of ATMs over the past couple of years, and in the past couple of months, he's sold like 4,000 ATMs. So it's exploding. He actually, we've chatted quite a bit about your ATM and my ATM, and he's really interested because I think I don't know if I think they do have Lightning on. I don't want to talk about them too much, but God, I wish I could remember the name of the company. But I think he likes.
General Bytes, is it?
That's it, General Bytes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Great company, and they've got some amazing software when it comes to managing their ATMs. There's no central. It's all, you know, the people who are in the ATM, they have the software. There's no data which is centralized, which is vulnerable to attack. So I think probably that's why they're doing so well. But yeah, obviously he's keeping an eye on our projects. You know, doesn't want these DIY LN ATMs to do him out of business.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, it shouldn't really be the same target audience. I think.
No, exactly.
I still believe that tinkerers are the ones who go for our approach, and that I knew from the beginning, and I still don't like. I almost discourage people to put their ATMs in public places, and like, I mean, I think it's fine if you do it in your shop or in your coffee or in, say, in that case of Vietnam, in your travel agency, but you shouldn't really. I had people who approach me from a rather corporate perspective, and my project, it's just not that. It's not. It's not foolproof, or it's definitely vulnerable. There is. You shouldn't use it for. In a corporate setting, that's not what it's meant to be. It's a tinkerer project to get to know Bitcoin, to learn about it, to get excited about it, to introduce your friends.
Well, I mean, Martin from General Bytes. I mean, one of the reasons we get on so well is he's a hardware dork too. He's like us. You know, he loves his house is covered in microcontrollers and Raspberry Pis and whatnot. So I think quite often, you know, a project like this, it can evolve into something, or you learn you learn the skills, or you know, you learn how to use the hardware, and then you build something else with it. So again, you know, why your ATM is a great project, because there's someone out there who's never played with hardware before. They're into Bitcoin. They build a little ATM, and then all of a sudden, you know, someone in the chat has mentioned Are there any solutions for renting devices like 3D printers, bikes, etc., and streaming sats and paying with satoshis? And yeah, there are some solutions, but the basic principles which makes your ATM possible. You attach a relay to one of those Raspberry Pi Zero GPIOs, and you get that GPIO to be a high. If someone pays, an invoice which is displayed on that little e-paper screen, and then boom, you've got yourself a electric scooter you could rent, or an electric bike you could rent. So it's a very transferable set of skills which I think you learn playing around with this hardware stuff.
That's true. True.
But your project encouraging that is great. It's great.
Yeah. There was this translation into that recycling area as well that people often made. Especially Germans, I think, because they have this deposit that they often pay. I don't know what that's called in English. When you pay a bit more for bottles, right, and you bring them back to wherever you bought them from, you get a little voucher. So a lot of people actually mentioned that why don't you have a machine that accepts bottles and gives out satoshis, rather than having credit with a store, just get real money, get satoshis back.
That was another great hack actually you did, was the sats back, which I think, like you said, legally is a pain in the ass, but brilliant. As a way of, if a vendor says you pay for something, they say, oh, do you want this 50 cents or this small amount of change, do you want it back in Bitcoin? And some people would be like, yeah, all right. And I'd be like, okay, down in this wallet, scan it, boom, got it back. So I really liked, I think you said there was a lot of legal implications on something like that.
I guess that is, I've never really went through the trouble or did actually do a lot of research how I could or where I could implement such a thing. As you say, right? Yeah, it is basically buying Bitcoin with your change. So if your total at a grocery store would add up to 15 euros and 50 cents, and the cashier would ask you, do you want those 4.50 euros back in coins, or do you want Bitcoin? Do you want satoshis back? They could press a button, and onto your receipt it would print a QR code or even display it to you on a little screen. You could scan it, receive it into your phone, 4.50 euros in Bitcoin. It is basically buying Bitcoin, so there is a lot of uncertainty as to what would need to be done because eventually there is an exchange, a currency exchange happening there. Who is doing that exchange? Is the grocery store doing it? Do they need to register as a financial intermediary, or is it a service that you would provide it does scare people away. But it's still something that I have in the back of my head. So eventually, I don't know. There is maybe room for this in my corporate project that I'm involved in. Maybe that is something we could pursue.
Yeah, I think I
definitely have the legal. From a legal point of view, we'd be able to do something like that. I reckon. Yeah.
What, in Switzerland? Oh yeah, Switzerland's probably okay with something like that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that would be great to see, and if it's just an option on someone's receipt machine. What's nice as well with an LNURL withdraw, you can put. I think we've spoken about this. You can put the fallback on it. We use that in LN-bits. So if someone just scans it with a regular QR code scanner, it just pops up with a page which says, press this button to build a wallet using the funds, and then you press the button and it builds a wallet on the fly puts the funds in there for you. Because LN-bits is like a brandable thing, you can brand it for your cafe or bar. We did think about how that might be quite nice for the local bar or cafe which wants to have their own branded wallet, to kind of get people using their own branded wallet. So we still need to work on it all properly, and again, there's all the legal implications. All this stuff is going to get ironed out as the Bitcoin price goes up and everyone wants to use the bloody stuff.
True. I agree.
When Switzerland becomes this Bitcoin utopia, and it's very functional, has this wonderful money infrastructure, everyone else will want to adopt it too. So get to work doing that.
Indeed.
Right. Cheers, man. It's great to see you.
It was fantastic. Yeah, lovely chatting with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for everyone out there, check out the 21isenough GitHub, Lightning-ATM, Fullmo shop, and follow 21isenough on Twitter, and then like and subscribe to this video, because it really helps us pull in people to view this excellent content and spread this great knowledge and get people involved in building their own shit and getting their hands dirty and developing on Bitcoin. So cheers again, and I'll see you again. Bye.
Very cool. Bye.
Right, so that's